Hello, this is the next video in a playlist that I'm calling hypothesis testing. And here we're going to look at a corollary of the Neyman-Pearson Lemma, and that is that the power of the test is always greater than the size of the test. So the situation is, it's a simple versus simple hypothesis test, and we're going to test is theta equal to theta naught versus is theta equal to theta 1. And we're going to test it at the alpha level, and we're going to use the Neyman-Pearson Lemma to define the test function phi, which is this function here. Now, we reject if the likelihood is greater than some constant. We randomly reject if the likelihood is equal to some constant, and we do not reject if the likelihood is less than some constant. And of course, where these constants are determined by this equation here. And I'm going to point you back to earlier videos in this playlist where we derive that explicitly. Then the power of the test, which is equal to the expected value of the test function under the alternative, is strictly greater than the size of the test, or alpha, which is the expected value of our test function under the null hypothesis, which is alpha. Now, unless theta naught is equal to theta 1, which really implies that these two densities or distributions are the same, then the power is equal to the size of the test, or the alpha. And here's a quick little proof of that. Now, since phi is the most powerful test, for any phi star, so some other test where the size is less than or equal to alpha, then we know that the power under the Neyman-Pearson test is always greater than or equal to the power for any other test that has this alpha level or less. We prove that in probably the first or second video in this playlist. So let's create a test that has size alpha. And let's just call it phi star is equal to alpha. And what that means is that we randomly reject the null hypothesis with probability alpha, right? So it's similar to this setting. So here, if we reject the null with the gamma probability, and we do not reject. But here we're just saying it doesn't matter what we observe in the data. We're going to randomly reject the null hypothesis with probability alpha. So this means that H naught is randomly rejected with probability alpha. Now notice then alpha, which is equal to the expected value of phi, right? There's no random variable here, so the expected value is itself. That's what we're saying here. But that's also equal to the power. So under the alternative, what's the expected value of phi? It's also alpha, right? All these are the same. But the Neyman-Pearson lemma tells us that the power of the most powerful test is always greater than or equal to that, right? And so, but this is power, right? So power is always greater than or equal to alpha. Now, let's examine this equal to part. So let's assume alpha and, oh, I put beta there. That should be power, or 1 minus, let's assume that alpha is equal to power. Then this test, phi star, which we're going to just let equal to alpha, is the most powerful test, right? Because we know that phi is the most powerful test, and it has a power value of whatever it is, but that's equal to alpha. So those two tests are most powerful, right? If we assume that alpha is equal to power. So phi star has to be a most powerful test, right? It is equal to the most powerful test. And so this says that these two test functions are equal. But note, big note, that this test function, the phi star can never equal 1, right? It's always equal to alpha. And it can never equal 0, right? Because it's always equal to alpha. That means that we're in this setting here. That the likelihood must be some constant. So thus, the likelihood must be some constant, which implies that, if we write the likelihood function out and multiply up the bottom piece, then we're in this setting. But if we integrate both sides over the sample space, here, and then we integrate this, right, that's C. But if we integrate the density over the sample space, that's 1. So that implies that this is, 1. But we know that this is 1, so that implies that C is equal to 1. And if C is equal to 1, it says those two densities are the same. And that's what we wanted to show, that if they're equal, then they're the same. Otherwise, it's strictly greater than. All right, well, that's all I have for this video. Now, in several of my videos, I made reference to this, but never proved it, so wanted to go back and do it. Please like the video, subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and see you on the next one. Bye.